Two experts in ICF.
Yeah.
Decades of experience.
Uh-huh.
One podcast.
Yeah.
Two hosts with a lot to say.
Look, I cannot sit through a struggle. I gotta get up and hustle. I gotta push through the pain, cause really that's how you build muscle.
Welcome to the Build with ICF podcast with your hosts, Trevor Brown and Heather Herring Brown. Yep, they're a package deal. With over 20 years of ICF installation experience, Trevor can throw down some expertise on sales, marketing, and training. On the other side of the table sits Heather, aka the girl boss, and she's earned the title as the owner of an award-winning ICF construction company, a drafting and design company specializing in ICF. And the numbers? With a master's in accounting, she does that too. Sleeves up, boots on. This is the Build with ICF podcast.
I don't want nothing for free. I'm here to work. Been through the dirt. I've been through the dirt, yeah.
Boom. Episode 35.
Yeah. I was listening to that intro and thinking, we do have a lot to say, but we haven't been online for a little bit. So
I haven't had time to say it.
I know. It's been crazy. And then I need to apologize because we launched our new website earlier this year. It has like this really cool chat feature, but I apparently did not know how it was set up and where the emails were going to because they were going to an old email address. So we went in there and found chat history and people asking questions. And so I apologize. We are responding to everybody now. I do have that coming into my phone. And so now we will be able to respond in real time. But yeah. Sorry.
We did not have that feature turned on. Did not realize that it would not notify us about a chat if we didn't have the app on the phone. And so. And
I didn't. Yeah. So I have
We're ICF people. Exactly. We're not technology people.
The masters in accounting. I don't know a whole lot about the website except, how to update and post.
We know just enough to be dangerous. We're not experts at this. We need experts to do that. Yes. Let us handle it. Now, if you have questions about ICF and building houses and stuff, we're happy to help you. Now, how the instant messaging system works on your website, probably not the people to talk to. That's why we don't have a podcast about it.
Exactly. But now we've got that figured out. It's working. And hence the topic of today's is window bucks, because we've had several questions about that in that chat bot. So bunch of questions have come up about this, kind of asking, our opinion on stuff and different things. And so we're going to kind of go at it from a standpoint of what we're familiar with. I kind of can brush over some of the stuff that we're not familiar with because I just know and am aware of things out there, but really have had a lot of people reaching out via the pod, because of the podcast, of reaching out, just asking like, hey, what do you guys use for XYZ? A lot of different things. So that's a lot of the questions that we answer is just kind of what we're using. And we've got one of the podcast dogs that is He's
on
being
one
very
today.
vocal today.
He's just wanting to.
I don't know what's going on with him, but
treats or something. I don't know. Anyways, he's got an attitude today.
Yeah. But, full disclaimer before we get into window bucks, just like everything else on this podcast, this is our opinion. It's based on our experience of what we've used and what we've seen out there in the industry.
So going over, first and foremost, we tend to use we lean pretty heavily on wood bucks especially for big openings and doors. And then we use a lot of the EPS bucks for around windows and stuff. I would say we kind of fluctuate over the years. When we first started doing this, everything was just pressure treat. We bought a bunch of 2x12 pressure treat and we'd frame our windows and doors out.
Even when I got started, and I got started years after you did in this industry, and that still was the preferred method.
Yeah, it was kind of where it was turning the corner right there. And so anyone on here that's been in construction for any period of time, pressure treat didn't always used to suck. Now it's kind of the garbage lumber of the lumber world, and so it tends to crack and pop and bow and twist, and so and not to get too deep into this vein here, but to give you a little bit of lumber knowledge on why, because a lot of people want to know why it is that it is so bad, and it's pretty self-explanatory. I can explain it to you, and it will make sense when you're coming from the mill side. I did spend some time in the lumber brokering business and worked for mills and different things years ago. And coming down when it comes out of the log and you cut the lumber and you start putting it into different grading specs, basically. It comes out and you've got your clear vertical grain or CVG that they talk about. You've got select struck. You've got, it goes down to 1 and better, 2 and better, 3 and better. There's a lot of grades that we don't see a whole lot of that, or don't exist as much anymore because the grade of lumber's, the quality of lumber's not as good. So basically it kind of works its way down. So saying that we're starting in most mills, you're going to start with a CVG, which is somewhat rare, but then you're going to go to a select struck, which is fairly common. They're going to pull out anything that meets that grade, which is a really high grade lumber. And then you're going to go to a 2 and better, usually is going to be your next grade. And then you're going to go down to like a standard and better, and then a utility grade. And then utility grade below that is kind of where pressure treated lumber goes. And what it is if you can imagine this, coming down, and they pull out the really good stuff, and then it keeps going down the grading belt, and then you've got a grader that pulls out and marks the next one down. So you kind of end up with the garbage bottom of the barrel stuff at the bottom. And what they do with that is they choose to either go utility grade, or they'll say, we're going to sell that to the pressure treaters. So the treaters then buy that. And then the treaters will, sometimes they do what's called a remanufacture, where there's companies that are remanners. They take that lumber and then they try to cut the best piece of that out. So say you have a really jacked up, crooked 16-footer, they may cut 8 feet out of the middle of it that looks good. But the thing is nature's nature. The grain of that wood is the grain of that wood. It's going to continue to twist and crack and stuff in the middle. It just hasn't done it yet. So what happens is they kind of clip that out. They throw it into a pressure treating vat, where they basically soak it with the pressure treating chemical, and it basically gets it really wet and pliable. And then they're able to kind of straighten it out, smash it together, band it together, and then they ship it out to the customer, right? I'm condensing the version, the process a lot. Anyway, so there's a lot of other steps in there. But in theory, what happens is they send that off to a lumberyard. Lumberyard gets it. It's in a nice unit that's all strapped up. And then as soon as you pop, as soon as you pop the bands and that moisture, and I think all of us have handled pressure treated, picked one up that's like really heavy and one that's really light. The really heavy one usually is pretty straight, doesn't have any cracks in it and things like that, because it's still got all the pressure treated, the liquid in it. Yeah. And so then the drier ones are usually the ones that are pretty light, are usually cracked, twisted, and bowed and different things. So, sorry, a little bit deep into that, but just to kind of explain how the process of pressure treat works. So why, because a lot of people want to know why the pressure treat is so crooked and bowed and different things. And that is why. So anyway, so we started with that. Pressure treat's great because it doesn't have to be treated to contact the concrete. So that makes it really a good thing. We still use a lot of pressure treat for sill plate. So that's pretty common. But again, the convenience of a pressure treated lumber is that we don't have to treat it in any way for the concrete contact.
Yeah. And it's pretty affordable.
Yeah.
For not having to treat it. So it's an affordable product. You don't have to treat it, like you said, and it's readily available.
Yeah, and like I said, geographically speaking, that's what we deal with out west. Maybe your pressure treat's better. I know, like down south, they do pressure treated southern yellow pine, and sometimes the inventory I've heard is a little bit better, a little straighter. You tend to see that a lot on HGTV and stuff. You'll see pressure treated yellow pine is what they use, and a little different than what we're used to out here. What is called womanized, the pressure treat that you see that's like kind of an orangey color, orange or brown color that we get out here a lot. Sometimes it's green. Anyway. So it could be an option for you. If you're getting good quality pressure treat, by all means, you can use that. It's very convenient, like I said, because you do have to have something on real raw wood can't touch concrete because it'll rot.
Correct.
And so it's against code to do that in everywhere I'm aware of. So you're going to have to treat it. So what we can do, and what we do a lot of, is we buy 2 and better 2x12 or, whatever we need to, for the window bucks. And we'll actually treat it with either a liquid treatment. We can put Hulk on there. We can put, there's different kinds of,
liquid waterproofing,
anything. The easiest thing we do a lot of is we actually take a roll of Tyvek and we cut the Tyvek into a 12-inch roll, and then we can just roll it down with a hammer stapler and we just tack it to the inside, and then basically that's going to be our barrier. So there's a barrier of Tyvek that's between the concrete and the wood, and that works for code everywhere that I'm aware of. Gives you straighter, good, better. I almost say gooder lumber to work with, but that's going to give you that the reason why we go with the wood is because of the stiffness and strength and being able to withstand a little bit. Doesn't,
Yes.
You don't have to brace it as much. And it also gives you a really good point of contact for windows, doors, things that you're going to be putting in that opening. A lot of times you'll find your contractors are a little hesitant to attach into the EPS bucks. They don't feel like that's going to be enough. As we ICF guys know, polypropylene is, pulls out at 198 pounds per square inch. It's a very strong way to attach things to, but still, a lot of guys like to have that wood feature to be able to attach, especially when you're trying to square up a door, flush a door, and stuff like that, or even attaching like garage doors and stuff. It's really important.
Yeah. So we started when I got started in ICF. My first ICF homes all had pressure treated. Around all of our windows, doors, garage doors, all the openings had pressure treated, and then we would support them with other lumber that we're going to use later on the interior framing. We, after building our personal shop, we switched away from using any pressure treated on our jobs except for sill plates because it went up. They were heavy. They were straight. They looked great in our garage door openings.
Mm-hmm.
And as the concrete cured over that week while the alignment sat on there, we watched them all split out and come
literally pulled away, twisted, and broke the screws right out of it. So, because that's the other thing too you have to keep in mind. So when you're building window buck, you have to put something in that's going to act as shear into the concrete, because I'm trying to do this in a way that I can verbally explain it. But basically, if you could imagine the concrete just coming up and you slide a piece of wood in there, a wood buck in there, and then someday you slam the door and the window and the whole buck just falls out of the wall, because concrete is going to recede a little bit from the wood, and there's really nothing keeping it connected. It's not like it's
smooth.
adhesive.
Yeah.
It's smooth. The concrete's going to basically
the concrete needs something to grab onto.
Right. So you have to put something through there at perpendicular to the buck and the concrete. So what you can do, you can drive a bunch of nails through it, basically kind of just like a porcupine look, spiky look, where there's just a whole bunch of nails. And then what they'll do is the concrete will embed around them, keeps it from sliding in and out, if you will, or falling out of the hole. Yeah. Some people will put big lag bolts. You can put just big lags through, and you don't have to put as many. Just put, once every couple feet, put one in there that basically will hold it. You can do it both ways. I've seen guys put long screws in from the face and put it through after they're installed so they don't have to deal with it. And we've also done it where we put them in at kind of a 45-degree angle, alternating 45-degree angle on the inside of the buck, so that kind of the bugle head, if you can imagine, is sticking into the concrete and the tip is into the wood. Basically, it gives you kind of, again, something for the concrete to wrap around and adhere to that's going to keep that window buck from moving in or out or shaking out of the hole. Now, realistically, we know that's not going to happen, because realistically, you're going to have sheetrock holding it in on the inside. You're going to have siding on the outside. You're going to have trim. There's like all kinds of things that's not going to make that happen. But just to give you an idea why we do it, it's to make that connection from the buck to the concrete, to make sure that it's connected.
Yeah. So literally what happened on our shop is, as it was curing and the alignment was sitting on it, that pressure treated broke away, and we had screws. We had our shear.
Yeah. The screws were still in the concrete, but the wood had broke away from the screws, because they cracked and twisted so hard. So that's why we don't use that anymore. But we do, like I said, but wood is great. So we do use a lot of the 2x material, and sometimes we even double them up for like garage doors. So you have plenty of space to put your rails, garage door rail brackets on, because those require a big lag bolt usually that you want to put on there. So that's what we use. I would say kind of a step above that even is going to like an LVL type board. It's stronger. They're more expensive than just a standard lumber, but they're just straighter, square edged, like really nice. I mean, they definitely are worth a little bit more money as far as headache wise. They're just super clean and straight, and you don't have to worry about it. And you can get them in longer lengths than you can the other. So we do try to work that into the budget if we can, because it's just going to be a little bit more money.
Yeah, if we have big overhead doors, for
it's
sure.
worth it.
Yeah.
And then within that, so some brands, I'm trying to stay away from like naming individual brands of because we're not here to promote one or the other. I will kind of mention ones that we've used. Nudura does make a wood buck that as well that is their
the pre-buck,
which is made by Tremco, which is Nudura. They've got a really cool where they use LVL material to make theirs. They've got now they even come with, they used to just be wood. Now they've got a kind of a metal ledge or a metal flange on the outside of them that kind of holds on to the, that holds onto the block. They're treated, so you don't have to actually treat them with anything because they are treated for the concrete from the plant. And then they're also routed out, so there's kind of a keyway, if you will, in the block so that the concrete slides into that. And then
so that does your kind of your shear.
That's your shear, so you don't have to do the nails and stuff. So pretty convenient for that, and you can get those in different lengths and stuff as well. I believe you can even order kits. I'm again talking a little bit out of the other end here, but they because I can't remember, but I think it will actually let you order kits and stuff. We've worked with it, but everyone we've worked with was ordered by another contractor, and we kind of just showed up and installed them, and they worked great. But that's very handy. One thing to I backstep a little bit, the bottom of your window bucks. So we talk about using 2x12 or a 2x12 or an 11 1/4 inch LVL or whatever. The bottom needs to be open. And how you do that is up to you. I know guys that put big 4-inch holes with a hole saw through the bottom and they just kind of peep it through the holes. We tend to use 2x material. So what we'll do is if we're using something, we'll either rip it down or we'll buy 2x4 and we'll just put double 2x4s on the bottom and then 3 sides with the 2x12. And that gives us plenty of room. So if you're having any trouble getting the concrete to flow under the window, you want to be able to jump down and use the hose to the pump to pump under the windows, because that's where you're going to run into the most voids is on windows or under lintels and stuff. It's where it always happens. So having that opening or doing a couple double 2x4s or possibly drilling the holes is another way to do that in those.
I think we've gone to the double 2x4 down there for the opening part one, but also the inspectors, when they come out, they want to see the rebar underneath the windows as well. Yeah. And when you have a solid piece of wood or foam buck or whatever there, they can't see that rebar underneath the window. So they're just trusting that it's there. Mm. So I think that was another reason why we looked at doing the double 2x4 underneath there.
Yeah. And it just has worked better. We've tried doing the holes. So moving on out of wood, then the one thing that's really, really popular and we use a lot of is the EPS bucks, especially on windows. We use them a lot. Different brands. Everybody's got their brand. Build Buck is something we're familiar with that we've been using quite a bit. Gorilla Buck is another buck that is kind of non-brand specific. They kind of work with all the different brands. They, a lot of different distributors, different brand distributors actually use Gorilla Buck as their
a lot of
their in-house buck,
a lot of the big companies that make it will actually have Gorilla Buck that they ship out with your block,
right? That's
for their block.
Yeah.
So that's a big one, and then Build Buck that we
Logix makes their own.
Yep.
They've got their own buck. Amvic, I just heard they just came out with their own buck. So Amvic, they had a buck before that was just kind of a flat sheet with you bought basically some flat sheet and it had corners that went on it and you'd attach it that way, but didn't really have a much bracing in the middle and stuff. Amvic just came out with a new buck. We haven't got it yet. We're in the process of, they called us and asked if they could ship us some. So we're supposed to be getting a sample here any day, but from what I saw online of it or what they sent me on emails and stuff, it's definitely more in line with Gorilla Buck and Logix, and all those are pretty similar. They've got basically what it is it's an EPS buck, but they have a 90-degree polypropylene edge on the sides. So basically that's what your attachment feature is. You've got 1.5 inches and 1.5 inches or 2 inches and 2 inches of attachment feature of polypropylene. And then depending upon the brand, some of them have polypropylene lines going across the whole face of the buck, or they have different attachment points that are usually marked in the foam, like where to attach to and stuff like that. So, depending upon the brand and what you're using, you'll see those, and then that's when you would have to do the holes or cut something through it to be able to do the bottom buck part.
Yeah. The thing with the foam bucks, and I think even with wood bucks, you've got to do some kind of support in the middle of the opening, depending on how large that opening is.
Yeah. So I would say like the downside. So downside I'm jumping all over here because I'm not doing this from notes. If anyone this is how my brain works. I'm sorry I didn't do notes on this episode because I figured I could just wing it, and now I'm knowing why we should write notes. But so the downside we talked about a little bit for wood is the thermal bridging. Thermal bridging is the biggest issue. Okay. For that, when you look at it, when you shoot this with a thermal gun after you're done, you will definitely see where the wood bucks are. We go through our house with our thermal imaging, and you can see, no heat loss coming through the windows, and then you see the heat loss around the doors because we do have very large sliders and things that we installed in the back of our house that would require a pretty heavy attachment. So we just put 2x12 in there. You can see that we did that because you can see the heat loss around the doors and windows. As I've said in other episodes, I'm not concerned with that. I think a house needs to breathe a little bit so it doesn't bother me. I know some people want to be super efficient, but you definitely lose some of that efficiency. The other thing is people, if you are in an area that has termites and things like that, where you're trying to eliminate any and all wood that you can, obviously, you've gone to the extent of building a ICF house to get rid of the wood structure as much as you can. It seems a little ironic to throw wood window bucks into a house after you've done that. So I get it. I've had people tell me that. They're like, that's crazy. We just got all the wood out. Why are you doing that? Well, we have wood trusses too and different things, but I could see where possibly you might have a problem with like termite issues, especially with a door buck that goes down to the ground or something. So you do need to be aware of that, I guess, would be the downside of the wood, but the upside is the strength. So that likewise, moving back to the EPS, the downside is the strength, but the thermal bridging is great. Like you're going to hold energy a lot better with those. You don't have the thermal bridging, but you are going to be dealing with, as some guys said, like some of like our installers, they're like, the thing we don't like about installing the EPS bucks is we end up building a wood buck inside of it anyways. So why don't we just build a wood buck? Because you kind of build a buck inside of the buck to brace it, because they will bow. They're not super structural. They are pretty sturdy. I mean, the new ones especially are just getting more and more and more sturdy, but they don't have the stability that the solid wood does, and most of them come in like 4-foot pieces. So most windows you're going to need, actually technically most of them are 52 inches, so that you can do a 4040 window with one piece per side. But most windows that are bigger, 6-footers and different things like that, you're going to have multiple pieces, which gives you a little hinging point that you have to make sure you brace off.
Yep. Yeah. But the first house that we used foam bucks on was our personal home. And you can, look around all of our other windows, that not the big sliders, because those are like 16 and 20 feet wide, but around all of our other windows, like it made for really easy transition with, and I guess wood does too, but our drywallers liked the foam a lot more in the windows when we were doing a 3-way wrap around the windows and just doing a sill and an apron. And then we don't have that thermal bridging around those other windows. So it worked well. I felt like on our house, we've continued to use them. We continue to sell them and look at all sorts of different options for wood. Like we have a client too that he builds his own kind of a hybrid wood and foam product, because he builds them and that's what he prefers to use. And he provides those. We do his install, but he provides all of the, I call them Todd bucks.
Todd bucks. Yeah. Todd is a different creature. He does things a different way. And when I say different, I mean like an amazingly efficient, cool way. Like, I mean, they are very cool. It's amazing. Like his bucks are, but he hand builds these bucks basically with LVL, and then he lines them with, he's got some, I think he had a 2x4 on him. And then he also lines them with EPS or not EPS, with actual XPS. So he's using XPS foam. He glues that to the wood, and then he puts that. Yeah, it's pretty phenomenal, and they're very sturdy. They're very square and straight. And anyway, we love our Todd bucks. They're fun to work with. We get to install them, which is great, and but we don't have to build them. So there are definitely some benefits, to that. And speaking of hybrid, we do, we can't talk about it totally, and I know they're listening, so they're on their edge of their seat right now, but we do, and there will be a future guest on here. We were approached by a company that is coming out with a new buck system that is going to be a hybrid system as well, that I think has one of the cooler things I've seen come out in the industry. It's not on the market yet, but it will be. And I was texting with them right before this, and we were told that they will let us know as soon as they're ready to come on the podcast and talk about it. And so kind of cool there, but just a little teaser there that we're looking. There is a new buck system coming out that I can honestly say I haven't seen before. And so when we met with them, they wanted us just to basically kind of take a look at it and give them some feedback. Sorry, Charlie, the podcast dog is angry. Is that they basically are coming out with something new that I haven't seen, which I think is really cool. And I think I told them I think this is going to be a big deal. So.
I'm excited to work with it when it does come out, but unfortunately we're not at liberty to discuss much more than that. So
I mean, we could tell you, but then they'd kill us. Or we tell you, and then I could tell you, but then I have to kill you, kind of deal. That's a lot of people to track down. Anyways, no, I think that's.
But it is one of the cool things that's going on right now in the industry. Like ICF is growing. We've been saying this since you for over 24 years. It's growing. I feel like since COVID, it has really shifted and is growing at a record pace. And seeing the new materials and the new things that are coming out, making it even better, I think is the really cool thing and gives legitimacy to the ICF industry.
Yeah, I think that
it's lunchtime and
you're laughing. You're laughing at me because I'm reaching for the dog treats to try to keep him quiet because he's hitting my leg. We have a Scotty. I mean, the dog's only 12 inches tall, but he weighs
he
25 pounds or something. But he's a little
Trevor.
Yeah, because I have the food and the treats.
Yes, he is your boss,
and he is sitting here hitting my leg while we're recording because he wants something. He wants a treat. Anyways, thanks, Charlie. But yeah, I think that's a huge part of it is the idea that they're just continuing to add these products, right? I mean, we just had meetings with a couple art engineers last week, and super cool, like getting to meet with them and just say, hey, is there, they engineer ICF for us specifically. And then some of you guys have, we've referred these guys out to people when they call us and stuff. People always, that is another question we get a lot. Hey, do you have engineers that can work in Michigan or wherever? And we refer these guys out for that stuff. But anyways, they do all of our plans for our drafting company and stuff. And so we try to have regular meetings with them to talk about like ICF and is there anything we need to do to make sure you're doing it right? And it's crazy. They just talk about how many products there are, everything from the fiberglass rebar, which we were talking pretty heavily about with them last time because they're starting to approve fiberglass rebar all the time. But yeah, all these new things coming out, window bucks that are specific to our industry and different things. I mean, then there's some other ones too. Like I don't want to leave out, like there's a company, Stella, I think it's pronounced Stella, it's STA or STELA. I've reached out and spoke with them a little bit. They've talked about maybe coming on the podcast, but they make metal bucks for ICF. They've been around for a while, actually. I mean, you don't see them around a ton, but it makes sense because if you go to any like tilt-up building or CMU building or anything like that, you're going to see metal earbucks. It's common. So it's not like it's some weird out of the range, but,
And then there's the company in Utah that we met with, and I can't think of his name off the top of my head. They do the
TJ.
TJ.
Quick headers.
Quick headers, yeah. And that's not necessarily, a full buck system. As you hear Trevor get into the plastic bag to give Charlie a treat.
Maybe I'll shut him up.
I doubt it. He's
hitting my leg.
Creating a monster. But those allow for, a lot larger openings to where if we put the, utilizing 2x material or whatever around those big overhead door openings and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You can use those and not have like the grid pattern that you have to do to provide all the support.
Yeah. Good. That's a good comment. And we have talked about having TJ on here. TJ's awesome, great sales guy, one of the best sales guys I've met over the years. I mean, just a really consistently good salesperson. But anyways, if you look up Quick Headers, they're out of Utah, but they have primarily been working in the CMU business, and then they kind of figured out like, oh, we can do this for ICF. ICF's a growing thing, so they started really going to the ICF guys. And you'll see them at World of Concrete. They're at Builder Show. They have booths there, but really cool because, like I said, it's adjustable system that you can slide these things out, and it's kind of more like a shoring product.
Yeah.
If you're familiar with like concrete roofs and stuff for shoring, but basically you could do that for your window bucks and stuff to keep a really, really square, nice header and not have to be squeezing through a 18-inch opening between the, to get in and out of the house after you brace it. So you can have some big wide open to get people in and out of and stuff while you're pouring, which is nice. But yeah, so they work with some of those systems. I was trying to think. So if there's a couple other like composite systems out there, and I apologize if we leave anybody out, or if somebody has something they want to do, please shoot us a DM or an email like usual, and I'll mention it in the next episode.
And if you go to the website and do it on there, we'll actually get the
and
chats
if you message
now.
us, we will know about it now. But yeah, if you come up with something that maybe we forgot, please let us know. I'm happy to put it out on a future episode. But for us, that's kind of what we're aware of as far as that goes.
What we use,
what we've used, and then what we've been made aware of. Like I said, the Stella ones I haven't been made. I know they're out there. We haven't got to use them yet, but yeah. So some of those things that I think are pretty cool. But touching on, I think that's about it. We'll get kind of wrapped up here.
I think so. Yeah, for bucks.
But touching on kind of like the coolness of like ICF and how things are all coming out. We got all these new things coming out for ICF and how our industry's growing. So I'm writing an episode.
An article?
I'm writing an article for ICF Builder Magazine this month that will come out, I believe will be in the January, February, around the time frame of World of Concrete issue. It will come out. But what I'm writing about is like, why is ICF so cool all of a sudden? What's making it so awesome? Why is ICF just booming like it is? We know it's kind of a, funny answer, but a topic that I want to kind of just get out there. Like, I know why, but I'm really curious, like if any of our listeners want to give me some input on that. If you guys want to reach out, shoot me an email, info@buildwithicf.com. Give us a DM at buildwithicf on Instagram or through Facebook or anything. Twitter now, I think we got our Twitter up and going. So any of that, but let me know if there's something. I'd be happy to give you a little shout out in the article if you come up with something that good that I'm not thinking of. But I'd like to compile some ideas of what everybody thinks why ICF is so popular, and I think that's going to be an interesting, aggregate of different reasons why people think, that it's taken off. So really wanted to get people's opinions. I'm going to be asking a lot of people I know in the business, so it's not just my opinion of why I think everything's blowing up with ICF, but would love to hear what our listeners think. I don't need you to write the whole article for me, but maybe send me a few sentences of what you think makes it cool, and I'll touch on that. And if I do, I'll make sure to get you a shout out.
And I would say, and let us know when you do send those, if you are a homeowner as a DIY or if you are a contractor.
Give us a little background. Give us a little background. Like I said, give you a little shout out in the article.
I'm interested to see kind of the different levels at which people utilize ICF and what they think is cool, because a lot of times what I think is cool as a contractor or a designer is totally different than what a homeowner thinks is cool about.
Okay, yeah.
So I'm just curious.
Yeah, no, I think it'd be good, and give us that information, and that way we can base kind of which angle you're coming from on that and see. But and then too, we're going to continue to start. We've got some swag that we're coming out with as far as our.
It's out. We have it. I just have to get it on the website. I've been saying it's ready. We've got the boys and the girls in the office. We've got them modeling it. So. I just got to get it up on the website.
Yeah, we've got the My House is Stronger Than Your House. Mm-hmm. We've got the Smart Little Piggy built with ICF.
Yep.
And then I don't know if we have the Harley Quinn one.
Yeah.
Do we have that one? The Harley Quinn quote that's sexy and bulletproof.
Yes, we have that one.
Yeah. So we got some swag out, and we're doing a little contest with that.
And we got all sorts of stuff.
Yeah. So tag us. Listening to the podcast, tag us on some, on your socials and stuff. And we'll be basically pulling some names of people and sending some swag out to, reaching out to you. So if we see you tagging up the Build with ICF podcast and putting us on there, we will definitely be following that. And if we see those on there, we're going to kind of put some names in the hat and pull some names out and start sending out some swag. So if you get a chance and you're on there, maybe little photo of you listening to the podcast, or just a shout out that you're cruising down the road listening to us or whatever, and tag us in your post. That'll get you entered in to win some Build with ICF podcast swag. But I think that's about it.
I think that is. This was a good episode. I'm glad we figured out our chat bot on our website and found these questions about bucks and bucking systems. So
yeah, we have some more guests lined up here. We've been on the road a lot lately. It's been really, really hard. So I almost want to do an episode about, we went down to San Antonio to the National Association of Home Builders fall meetings, had some meetings with the Building Systems Council talking about, different things like ICF and different alternatives to stick built, especially with all the disasters we're dealing with and the hurricanes and different things. It's becoming more and more of a topic at the National Home Builders Association. So really, really cool discussion there, and came back, did our state conferences, and now we're a little more open to doing some more interviews, which we've had a few people reached out. We've got some guests coming on, a few more brands that we're going to talk about, which I'm excited. And as I said, we've got another window butt company coming out that's going to be on here. And then we still have we're bringing on Hollyhock, Sean at Hollyhock to do, he wants to do one about the importance he already did the online or the social media, but he wants to talk about like just becoming a distributor and kind of how that works and stuff and the how to. So we've got some cool ideas, some things coming up. So keep on listening, and obviously reach out to us on our socials.
Build with ICF or info@buildwithicf.com, or even on our website. Everything is buildwithicf.com. So
pretty easy to find us.
Pretty easy to find us.
And we do try, like I said, if you do not hear from me, it's usually it got lost or something. So hit me up again, because I'm always looking to interact with everybody and answer questions. So please let me know if there's anything that you need from us. We're happy to help out in any way we can. So thank you to all our listeners. Appreciate you guys listening to us, and we will catch you on the next episode.